So, I just got done listening to an interview from George Kambosos' trainer. George Kambosos and his trainer feels like they have the answer. They have the right game plan this time to finally beat Devin Haney. I find that very, very hard to believe because they haven't accepted the rematch. And not only that, when you watch the fight between George Kambosos and Devin Haney, well, the trainer feels like Devin Haney lives and dies by that jab. Now, being a sports player myself and playing at a high level with basketball, not only is that not the only move in Devin Haney's toolbox, because I've watched Devin Haney, but y'all ever heard the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Devin Haney didn't have to do anything differently because that jab was working flawlessly. I know a lot of y'all wanted Devin Haney to get a little cute so he can give George Kambosos the opportunity of a lifetime, but he didn't. He just gave him an ass whooping of a lifetime. So that is the wrong game plan. George Kambosos may want to consider finding a new trainer or may want to consider taking that step aside money like everybody has been telling him and letting Devin Haney move on and maybe catching him later on or catching him off guard. But right now, as we stand, George Kambosos can fight Devin Haney 10 times and will lose to Devin Haney 10 times and lose in 10 different ways. It's not going to happen. So that is what it is. It is what it is, man. I know they feel, hold on, I'm gonna let this truck go past. Yeah, the Amazon truck was making a lot of noise. But George Kambosos' trainer feel like all they have to do is put the pressure on Devin Haney. Let him fight off the back foot. Devin Haney can fight beautifully off the back foot in a regular stance on his front feet. Probably, a lot of people were saying Devin Haney could have beaten George Kambosos with one hand tied behind his back. Probably could have beat him with a blindfold on. Sometimes people tend to sit back and watch tape and you feel like you have something. Sometimes you do have something. But I'm letting you know now, George Kambosos' trainer, is nothing you can do but either get beat or accept that step aside money and try to catch him sleeping later, or try to cash out later. Cash out now, cash out later. Step to the side. That's all you can do. Because if you try to fight Devin Haney again, it's going to probably end even worse than what it did the first fight. I don't see nobody, not even George Kambosos' people, calling for Devin Haney and George Kambosos a second time around. Nobody wants to see it. We're talking about Tank Davis. We're talking about Vasyl Lomachenko. Nobody is caring about George Kambosos. George Kambosos talked a good game. He threw out all these stipulations, all of these hurdles, all of these road bumps, speed bumps. He made Devin take less money for Devin to come out there and do what Devin knew he was going to do all along. And truth be told, what you guys knew he was going to do all along. That's why y'all did that. So what is the use? Are you telling me that George Kambosos is trying to cash out? He's trying to ride off into the sunset? Because make no bones about it, this will be his last big opportunity. Because let's say Devin Haney goes over to the 140-pound division. Still have to worry about Shakur, who in many people's eyes, especially in my eyes, believe is better than Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis. Or at least on that same level, in that same stratosphere, what George Kambosos is nowhere near. I believe Devin did a good job of displaying that when they fought. And he'll do it again, and he'll do it again, and he'll do it again. This is no knock on George Kambosos. This is no knock on George Kambosos' team. This not even a trainer, bad trainer situation. You know, is no trainer that can fix this. You have to have this, and this is why I said at the beginning, this is why you non-black fighters, Hispanics, whites, this is why you have to start Chinese, you have to start training from birth to fight a Shakur Stevenson. You have to start training from birth to fight and be competitive against a Devin Haney. You have to start from birth. You have to study from birth to be able to fuck with a Gervonta Tank Davis. You have to start from birth. You have to start going into these urban hoods, these urban neighborhoods, sparring and going against. When I was coming up, even though I'm from the hood, I used to go into the depths, into the hood, because that's where all of the great players was. Anybody that played sports at a high level knew all of the best basketball players, all of the best football players, all of the best. It's something about dudes that come up in that real struggle, that real poverty. I came up in that real struggle too. But the people that's below me, that's below where I'm at, it's something about playing them. They just wanted a lot more. You know, George, when you come from privilege, you can't understand these type of things. You can't understand. You know, but I bet you who understands? The governing bodies, the promoters, the people that are calling these fights, the commentators, because they've been around for a long time. They've seen it in Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Sugar Shane Mosley, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard. They've seen it in Bernard Hopkins. They've seen it in Roy Jones Jr. They've seen it in Floyd Mayweather. They still continue to see it. You know, so that's my advice. That's Double R's advice. It's nothing that George Kambosos can do right now. You know, it's nothing he can do. It's nothing he probably will ever be able to do to fuck with a Devin Haney, a Shakur. You know, he may be able to get off on a Ryan Garcia because Ryan Garcia didn't come up from that life. He may be able to get off on a Teofimo, you know, and he did get off on Teofimo. That's why he was able to do that. You know, he may be able to get off on a Lomachenko. But it's a different type of animal, man. Shakur, Tank, Dev, those are different kind of breeds of dogs, man. Them different types of dogs right there. Not only do they have the skills, but they got the will. And they got the confidence. Shakur confidence is through this roof. Dev confidence is through this roof. Tank's confidence is through this roof. And their skills are through this roof. They don't think nobody can stop them. They don't think nobody is going to stop them. All three of them believe that they'll be retired, that they'll be the number one king on top. And as it stands for Devin Haney, he is the king on top. You know, and Tank Davis in his own right, because he got people coming to see him entertain and knock people out cold. Or as I would say it, turn your electric off. You know, so George Kambosos trainer, go ahead and take that step aside money, man. Do the smart thing. You know, I know your pride is in the way. I know your ego is in the way. I know, you know, you felt like you made a bad decision by even accepting this fight. But I felt like, you know, I got a lot of respect for you. I felt like, you know, you're a man's man, regardless of whether or not you was forced into it. You know, you could have faked an injury or something. The fact that you accepted to take on Devin Haney, win, lose, or draw, I got respect for you. Now, take the advice that you should have taken at the beginning, according to your promoter, Lou DiBella, and go ahead and take that step aside money and let Dave go ahead and fight Lomachenko. Go ahead and get him out of the way so we can see the real fight, so we can see the real three kings. You know, Tank Davis, Shakur, and Dave. You know, that's all. See, it's people like Kambosos that's making this sport the way it is in a negative way. because you knew you couldn't beat that man, you know, and then you lost to him, and you can't even be, and you got to be a poor sport about it. I watched Kambosos after that fight with Dev. He said that he was going to let Dev have his night. He wanted Dev to enjoy his belts. Me and my wife was actually laughing at this, but at the time we was, but it wasn't really a laughing matter, man. It's a mental thing. It's a racist thing. Notice George Kambosos said he was going to allow Dev to have his night, and enjoy the belts like he was able to. And notice as Dev was having an interview, George Kambosos was still there. Like at this time, it was funny. At the time, it was funny. We was laughing. I was like, man, why you still there? Why you ain't leave yet? Why you ain't letting him have his night? I mean, I understand you want to give him, you dap him up, give him a hug. You congratulate him for winning. But why are you still there? Go head home. He's the man now. It was everybody was telling George Kambosos this was going to happen. And George Kambosos, a part of him knew it was, a part of him felt like he was the so-called emperor. And Devin Haney showed him the emperors die, as they always do. He showed him who the real deal was. And that's what's affecting it right now. They feel like, okay, they watch a little tape. Oh, I know, I got the answer now. I know how to beat him. Just attack him, be aggressive. You was attacking him and being aggressive in the fight, and you wasn't successful at it. So you think, a couple months is going to change that? Yeah, it will. It probably make it worse for you. Let it step aside and take the money and push your pride to the side and go ahead and let the real fighters fight, man. Let the real fight begin. You got the WBA interfering, trying to mess everything up, being money hungry, being racist. You got ESPN, not giving Dev his full credit. Max Kellerman, always been a racist. I know you two gonna flame me, but so what? We ain't here for all that. But you can't stop this shine, baby. You can't stop the rain. George Kambosos, this is Double R's message to you. When it starts to pour, you can't stop the rain. Boy, go ahead, man. It's your boy Double R, man. Deuces.